Hey guys, it's Jace back with my second game devlog video. Today I'll be showing some early gameplay of my video game Infernomon, and I'll be talking about some ideas around how you will progress through the game, how the dungeon fights will work, the different ways that your Infernomon will play and their different roles, and how that affects your overall play style. So when you first start the game, you choose whether you'd like to be an elf witch or wizard. After that, you'll be brought to the school castle, where you'll be given your very first Infernomon companion, Zap. After that, you will choose which schoolhouse you'd like to be a part of. And so each schoolhouse will have its own unique benefits in battle, as well as its own unique benefits when you're leveling up your school professions. After you have chosen your schoolhouse, you will then take on your very first quest, defeating and acquiring your second Infernomon. At this time, you'll choose to battle one of the three following Infernomon: Venonid, Tadlik, or Chiropter. After battling and defeating that Infernomon, you will then acquire that Infernomon's recipe, so then you can now conjure that Infernomon and add that to your team. So at that point, you should have your very first two companions in the game. At that point, you are now ready to venture off and start battling in dungeons. So now we'll talk about the dungeon fights and the different Infernomon roles. So each dungeon that you fight will have a specific elemental theme, and the very first dungeon you fight in will have the Earth elemental theme. So all of the Infernomon that you're battling against in that dungeon are going to be of the Earth elemental typing. The Infernomon in this dungeon will include Ashello, Turmog, Tankano, Anuband, and Anujak. And so the different elemental typings on an Infernomon will give it specific advantages and different advantages when it's battling against Infernomon of other typings. So for example, if you have the Infernomon Tadlik on your team, Tadlik has water attacks, and water attacks will be more effective against the Earth Infernomon Anuband. But let's say, for example, your Zap, which is an electric type, its electric attacks will be less effective against the Earth Infernomon Anuband. And so the rooms and the layout of the dungeon will be randomly generated, and the groups of Infernomon that you battle against will also be somewhat randomized. And so every time you battle in a dungeon, you'll have a slightly different experience. Also, each dungeon that you fight in has its own unique battling mechanics. So for example, in the very first dungeon, there will be a sand cloud that periodically gets summoned and chases you around the map. And when you get hit by the sandstorm, you will have your accuracy lowered and take damage. Also, there will be a sinking stone that appears on the map periodically, and when you pick that up, your stats will be temporarily increased. And then after you progress through the dungeon and reach the final room, that will be the boss room. The very first dungeon boss will be Slizzard, and each boss that you fight in the different dungeons will also have its own unique battle mechanics. And then after you defeat the dungeon boss, you will be rewarded with different items and armor with different randomized stats. You'll receive all the recipes from the Infernomon that you've defeated in that dungeon, and you can now conjure them and add them to your team. And then you'll also receive an item called a pendant that you can equip on your Infernomon to give them specific benefits. And then you also get a bunch of materials to help level up your professions when you go back to the school castle. So now let's talk about team roles. So when you're organizing your team, you're going to place you and your two companion Infernomon into one of the three following slots: Assassin, Tank, and Support. If your character or Infernomon are in the Assassin slot, they will do bonus damage. If they are in the Tank slot, they will take reduced damage, and the enemies will be more likely to attack them. If they're in the Support slot, then their nearest ally will periodically be healed, and if the support has the least health on the team, it can also heal itself. In addition to the team roles, each Infernomon also has its own unique role. So for example, Chiroptorch is an assassin, Orgrot is a tank, and Drupashroom is a support. When an Infernomon is placed in a slot that matches their role, their slot benefits will be doubled. Since your team consists of 3 slots, your player also needs to take up one of those slots. The player character is very versatile and can fulfill any of the 3 roles, and any slot you place your character in will receive the double slot bonus. Now there is one more Infernomon role that we haven't talked about, and that is going to be utility. If an Infernomon has the utility role, it can be placed in any one of the 3 slots and still receive the double slot bonus. So now I'll show you some gameplay and kind of explain how these roles will work in battle and kind of give you a recap. Let's say you start your dungeon and your character is in the support slot. Then you have Chiropter, which is an assassin Infernomon, and he is in the assassin slot. And then your third Infernomon will be Zap, and we'll put him in the tank slot. Since your player can switch between roles and they are in the support slot, they're going to get the double effect from the slot bonus. And then since Chiropter is an assassin Infernomon, and he is in the assassin slot, he will also get the double slot bonus. But since Malkizap is an assassin and is put in the tank slot, he will only receive the single slot bonus. So your character in the support role will be healing, your Chiropter in the assassin role will be doing a lot of damage, and then your Malkizap in the tank role will be taking less damage and the enemies will be focusing on him, but since he's not a tank, he won't be as strong as if it were a tank Infernomon in that slot. But he'll still have better defense than if he were in one of the other two slots. Then in between your dungeon fights, you'll go back to the school castle. While you are here, this is the time that you turn in quests, accept new quests, level up your school professions, and conjure new Infernomon. The headmaster at the school and the professors at the school that are teaching the different school subjects will be the ones handing out quests. So completing those quests will either advance you through your profession or advance you through the storyline. So now I'll kind of briefly talk through each of the professions. So when you conjure new Infernomon, that levels up your conjuring school subject profession. That'll allow you to summon even stronger Infernomon. And then when you advance through the enchanting class, this will allow you to change the different elemental typing on your player and make his items even stronger. And then advancing through the gem crafting class, you'll be able to craft gems that you can equip on your Infernomon's pendants to make them even stronger and kind of allow you to tailor to that Infernomon's playstyle. And then advancing through the potion making class will allow you to conjure even stronger potions, which are going to be used in battle to either heal you and your team or to give them a attack or defense buff. So there will be 8 dungeons that you progress through in the game. After you defeat all 8 dungeons, you will then take on the final boss in the game, Infernomon, along with his legendary elemental Infernomon. But once you beat the story, you are only just getting started with the end game. And so at that point, every time you beat a dungeon in the end game, the dungeon will get even harder the next time you battle it, as well as give you even more powerful rewards when you beat the dungeon. So one of your main goals in the end game is to beat as many hard dungeons as you can and level up your dungeon score. And then not only that, you will be attempting to complete as many achievements as possible. So part of the achievements include what I'm referring to as Infernomon Mastery. And so Infernomon Mastery contains specific quests for each individual Infernomon. So for example, part of the mastery might be to summon 20 of that Infernomon, or defeat every single dungeon with that Infernomon, maybe conjure that Infernomon with perfect stats, hit level 100 with that Infernomon, and so forth. So that's a high-level overview of how the game will work. And then in future devlogs, I'll go into greater detail on my actual progress developing the game. I'll highlight all of the different Infernomon that you can conjure in the game. I'll show exactly how school subjects will work and all that good stuff. I also want to say thanks to everyone that watched the first video and liked or commented or subscribed. I didn't think I would get anyone at all watching my stuff, so thank you all so much. And so my plan going forward will probably be to release 1 devlog every other week, so two devlogs per month. I'm thinking at some point I'll also start releasing either like YouTube shorts or TikToks or maybe even both. That will be like an Infernomon spotlight, just like a quick video. That might be something like, this week's Infernomon spotlight is Chiropter. Chiropter is an assassin Infernomon. He is fire/wind typing. He's fast and has high attack. And then blah blah blah, whatever else I want to include. Maybe something like that. But in the meantime, I'm gonna go back to developing my game. So thanks for watching and I'll see you next time. Peace! The different school professors will